Imagine two offices in the heart of a modern metropolis. Two people work there side by side, drinking the same coffee from the same machine every morning. The first office belongs to Andrew. Andrew earns $4,000 a month. If you visited his apartment, you'd see the latest gaming console, a $1,500 sound system he uses once a month, and a row of brand-name sneakers displayed like museum exhibits. Andrew is the life of the party and always has the newest tech, but there's a catch. Andrew feels a literal pang of anxiety every time his phone buzzes with a credit card notification. He lives in a perpetual state of waiting for payday, and a single car repair or an unexpected dental visit would send him into a financial tailspin. Now look at Max's space. Max earns $2,200, nearly half of what his colleague makes. His apartment is filled with light and open space. On his desk is a reliable, though not brand new laptop. His wardrobe consists of high-quality basics he's worn for years. When Max opens his banking app, he doesn't feel dread. He feels a quiet, steady confidence. He has a capital cushion that would allow him to stop working for 2 years without changing his lifestyle. He invests 25% of every paycheck, while Andrew only invests in the temporary high of a new purchase. This isn't just a story about spending habits, it's a story about the invisible wealth protocol that most people ignore in their race to impress others. We've been conditioned to think wealth is what we see, the cars, the watches, the massive homes. But true financial wealth is actually what you don't see. It's the money that wasn't spent on useless clutter and was instead converted into your personal freedom. Most people don't stay poor because they don't earn enough. They stay poor because they are paying a status tax on items they don't even need. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 10 rules of intellectual minimalism that allow you to build a fortune faster than top executives, even on a modest income. We're going to break down how stuff steals your time, your energy, and your future, and how to flip the script in your favor. These rules aren't about deprivation or living like a hermit. They are about ensuring that every dollar you earn works for your peace of mind rather than a corporation's profit margin. Get ready, because after this, the way you look at every object in your home and every dollar in your wallet is going to change forever. Let's start with a concept that will redefine how you measure the true cost of your life. Most people think that when they buy something, the transaction ends at the cash register. In reality, that's just the moment the subscription fee of ownership begins. To build invisible wealth, you must understand Rule 1. Calculate the ownership tax. Every object you bring into your life has two costs. The first is the price on the receipt. The second is the invisible tax that drains your bank account and your sanity every single day you own it. This tax is composed of 4 distinct layers. 1. The space rent. Every square foot of your home has an annual cost. If you pay $2,000 a month for a 1,000 square foot apartment, you're paying $24 per square foot every year. That massive, dusty exercise bike taking up 15 square feet, you are effectively paying $360 a year just to let it sit there. 2. The maintenance drain. This is the time and money spent cleaning, repairing, and managing the item. A luxury car doesn't just cost more to buy, it costs more to insure, more to fuel, and more to fix. 3. The cortisol tax. Research shows that physical clutter increases your stress hormones. Your brain is constantly scanning your environment. Every unused gadget in your kitchen and every maybe one-day outfit in your closet is a tiny piece of mental software running in the background, slowing down your focus. 4. The ghost of compound interest. This is the opportunity cost. Every $1,000 locked up in a rarely used possession is $1,000 that isn't sitting in an index fund. Over 15 years, that $1,000 could have grown into $3,000 or $5,000. You didn't just buy a designer bag, you traded away a piece of your early retirement. Once you see the ownership tax, impulse buys lose their charm. You realize that the purchase price is just the entry fee, and most things simply aren't worth the ongoing subscription. This leads us to Rule 2. Use the utility multiplier. Minimalists don't hate spending money, they hate wasting value. To determine if a purchase is actually cheap or expensive, you have to ignore the price tag and calculate the cost per use. Take two different purchases. A $300 high-end blender that you use every single morning for 5 years. That's roughly 1,800 uses, making the cost about 16 cents per use. That is an incredible investment in your health. Contrast that with a $100 fast fashion dress you buy for one specific wedding and never wear again. That is $100 per wear. The $300 blender is mathematically cheaper than the $100 dress. When you apply the utility multiplier, you stop buying cheap things that break or sit idle, and you start investing in high-quality items that you use daily, like a world-class mattress, a professional-grade office chair, or a reliable computer. These aren't expenses, they are tools that pay a utility dividend every day. By mastering these first two rules, you stop the hemorrhage of small, invisible costs and start directing your capital toward items that actually improve your life. But what about the stuff you already have? Now that you understand how new things tax your future, we need to talk about the weight you're already carrying. Most of us are living in a museum of our past impulses. Rule 3. The Vanishing Audit, the Replacement Test. Walk through your home today and look at your objects not as possessions, but as potential disappearances. Ask yourself this: if this item vanished into thin air tonight, would I actually go out and spend my hard-earned money to replace it tomorrow? Be brutally honest. Would you really buy that dusty bread maker again? Would you repurchase those jeans that haven't fit your lifestyle in 2 years? For most of us, the answer for 60% of our stuff is a resounding no. These items are staying in your life through inertia, not intention. They are remnants of past hobbies or gifts you feel guilty about. Here's the truth. These items have negative value. They steal your mental energy every time you have to clean around them or organize them. Minimalists don't just clean, they eliminate anything that fails this replacement test. This creates a mental lightness that is hard to describe. Suddenly, rooms feel bigger and decisions feel simpler because everything that remains has a clear purpose. Rule 4. Kill the boredom upgrade. There is a specific pattern that keeps high earners broke. They confuse novelty with necessity. We live in a culture that tells us a perfectly functional item is broken just because a newer version exists. Your phone works flawlessly, but the new one has a slightly faster chip. Your car is reliable, but the neighbor's new model has a different grille. Your TV looks great, but the new one has deeper blacks. Replacing something that still works is wealth destruction, disguised as progress. Minimalists follow a strict functional failure policy. An item is only broken when it can no longer perform its required task. Boredom is not a mechanical failure. Think about the math. The average person upgrades their phone every 2 to 3 years, even if the old one is fine. Over a lifetime, this upgrade culture across all categories, cars, tech, furniture, can easily waste over $200,000. That is the price of a small house or a decade of early retirement sacrificed at the altar of marketing. By deciding that good enough is the finish line for functional tools, you stop solving problems you don't actually have. Most people fail their financial goals not because they lack discipline, but because they rely on it too much. Willpower is like a phone battery. It's full in the morning, but by 8 p.m. after a long day of work and stress, it's in the red. If your environment makes spending easy, you will eventually spend. Rule 5. Architect strategic friction. In the invisible wealth protocol, we don't fight temptation. We make it impossible for temptation to reach us. You need to build friction into every path that leads to your bank account. Digital decluttering. Delete every one-click shopping app from your phone. If you have to go to the browser and log in every time, you've added enough time for your rational brain to wake up. Wipe the memory. Remove your stored credit card information from online retailers. Physically having to walk to your wallet and type in 16 digits is a powerful deterrent against a midnight impulse buy. The 24-hour buffer. Implement a mandatory waiting period for any non-essential purchase. Data shows that nearly 70% of impulse desires evaporate within 24 hours if they aren't acted upon immediately. Unsubscribe from temptation. Your inbox should not be a catalog for brands. Unsubscribe from all promotional emails. If you don't know there's a limited time sale, you won't feel the manufactured urgency to buy something you didn't need yesterday. Rule 6. Design the path of least resistance for saving. While we make spending difficult, we must make saving effortless. The goal is to make your financial growth happen in the background, without you ever touching a button. The invisible transfer. Set up automatic transfers to your investment or high-yield savings account to trigger the same day your paycheck hits. If you never see the money in your checking account, you never feel like it's yours to spend. The fixed expense mindset. Stop treating savings as whatever is left over at the end of the month. Treat your future self like a landlord. Pay your savings bill first, as a fixed, non-negotiable expense. The small balance strategy. Keep only what you need for immediate bills in your primary checking account. This forces you to be mindful of your daily liquidity and prevents the wealth illusion that comes with a temporarily high balance before the rent is due. Minimalists don't trust their future selves to be smart when they are tired or emotional. They design a system where the good choice is the only choice available. By hacking the friction in your life, you stop being a victim of marketing and start becoming the architect of your own freedom. Now that we've engineered your environment to prevent new leaks, we need to address the volume of what you already own. Most people have no idea how much they actually possess until they are forced to move house. Minimalists don't wait for a moving van to realize they have a problem. Rule 7. The inventory shock. Counting your possessions sounds obsessive, but it is one of the most powerful ways to force awareness and prevent future accumulation. Awareness is the natural enemy of mindless consumption. To do this, pick a single category like shirts, kitchen gadgets, or books, and physically count every single item. Write the number down. For most people, the results are shocking. You might guess you have 15 shirts only to discover 47 hanging in your closet. This inventory shock changes the psychology of the next purchase. When you know you already own 47 shirts, buying a 48th no longer feels like getting something I need. It feels absurd. To maintain this clarity, implement maximum thresholds. Decide that you will only own, for example, 30 pieces of clothing or 15 physical books at any given time. You can also use a one-in, one-out policy. For every new item that enters your home, an existing one must leave. This creates a natural barrier to lifestyle creep because every new acquisition requires a conscious sacrifice. Rule 8. The test drive. Rent before you buy. A massive amount of wealth is buried in garages and closets in the form of abandoned hobbies. We've all been there. You get excited about camping, photography, or woodworking, and you immediately go out and buy all the entry-level gear. 3 months later, the excitement fades, and you're left with $2,000 worth of equipment gathering dust. Minimalists avoid becoming museums of past enthusiasm by renting or borrowing before they commit to ownership. Testing genuine interest. If you want to try kayaking, rent a boat 5 times first. If you still love it after 5 trips, the interest is likely genuine rather than a temporary spike in dopamine. Clarifying needs. First-time buyers almost always buy the wrong things because they don't know what they actually need. Renting allows you to learn the nuances of the hobby for a fraction of the cost. Maintaining flexibility. Borrowing tools or using a makerspace gives you the ability to explore various interests without the heavy burden of storage, maintenance, and the ownership tax we discussed earlier. By treating ownership as the last resort rather than the first step, you keep your capital liquid and your home free of hobby ghosts. Many people view a purchase as a single, isolated event, but to master the invisible wealth protocol, you must recognize that every object you own exists at the center of a web. Rule 9. Beware the lifestyle multiplier. Every major possession you bring into your life triggers a cascade of related purchases. This is the lifestyle multiplier effect. A purchase that seems singular actually creates an entire ecosystem of ongoing expenses. Consider these common traps. The recreation trap. A boat is never just a boat. It requires a trailer, a vehicle equipped with a hitch, storage fees, maintenance supplies, and safety equipment. The home improvement trap. Installing a home gym often leads to new flooring, mirrors, storage solutions, and even room renovations. The vehicle trap. A motorcycle often demands specialized gear, dedicated storage, and a trailer for transport to riding locations. Minimalists calculate the full ecosystem cost before they swipe their card. They understand that a $5,000 item might actually represent a $10,000 commitment when all supporting expenses are factored in. Interestingly, the multiplier effect works in reverse. Eliminating one major possession like selling a boat doesn't just give you the item's value, it eliminates an entire category of recurring storage, insurance, and maintenance costs. Rule 10. Define your enough before you earn. One of the most dangerous traps for high earners is the lack of a finish line. Without a clear definition of what enough looks like, your expectations and expenses will naturally expand alongside your income. This is why people earning $300,000 a year often feel just as financially suffocated as those earning $80,000. They keep moving the goalposts. To break this cycle, you must decide in advance what level of material comfort actually constitutes satisfaction for you. Ask yourself, what kind of home is truly sufficient for my needs? What type of car provides reliable transportation without being a status symbol? What level of wardrobe meets my genuine daily requirements? By defining these standards early, you create a point where your lifestyle stops expanding. Once you reach that finish line, every additional dollar you earn, whether through a raise or a side hustle, flows directly into your financial freedom. The person who decides $60,000 is enough but earns $150,000 builds wealth at an extraordinary rate because that $90,000 gap goes straight into investments. True wealth isn't about having an infinite amount of money. It's about having an infinite amount of life because you knew when to stop buying more stuff. We've reached the final pillar of the invisible wealth protocol. This is where everything we've discussed, the ownership taxes, the friction, and the limits, transforms from a set of rules into a way of life. Rule 11. Measure wealth by optionality, not accumulation. The biggest lie we've been told is that wealth is the sum of your possessions. In reality, true wealth is measured by what you can choose to do with your Tuesday morning. Think about the optionality available to someone who follows these rules. Career freedom. Can you walk away from a toxic boss or a job that is draining your soul? Crisis resilience. Can you take 6 months off to deal with a family emergency without checking your balance every day? Risk-taking. Can you move to a new city for a relationship or start a business without a guaranteed paycheck on day one? Integrity. Can you say no to a high-paying opportunity that compromises your personal values? This level of freedom is only available to those who have built a massive margin between what they earn and what they spend. Remember our friend Andrew earning $4,000 a month? Because he spends almost all of it to maintain his stuff, he has zero optionality. He's effectively chained to his desk. Meanwhile, Max, earning $2,200 but spending far less, has extraordinary freedom. Each purchase you avoid isn't just saving money, it's buying back a piece of your future choices. Rule 12. Constant calibration, cyclical decluttering. Most people treat minimalism like a crash diet. They do one massive purge, feel great for a week, and then slowly let the clutter creep back in. Within a year, they are right back where they started. The Invisible Wealth Protocol relies on cyclical decluttering. Instead of one annual explosion of cleaning, you perform small, regular audits. Weekly, a quick glance at what came into your home. Monthly, evaluating one specific category like your digital subscriptions. Quarterly, assessing overall accumulation trends to see where you might be slipping. This approach keeps your awareness sharp. When you evaluate your life regularly, you start to see patterns. You notice which emotional states make you want to spend and which marketing tactics actually work on you. Conclusion: the virtuous cycle. What I'm describing isn't a life of suffering or deprivation. It's about recognizing that happiness doesn't scale linearly with spending. Once you reach a baseline of comfort, more stuff actually yields diminishing returns on your well-being. By choosing to own less, you create a virtuous cycle. 1. Spending less creates a surplus. 2. That surplus builds financial security. 3. Security reduces the underlying anxiety that drives us to buy things for emotional comfort. 4. Lower anxiety leads to even less spending, accelerating your journey to freedom. At the beginning of this journey, we looked at two apartments. The person earning nearly double the income was the one living on the edge of a crisis. The person earning less was the one with 18 months of freedom in the bank. The math is clear, and the peace of mind is undeniable. You don't need to earn $1 million to feel like a millionaire. You just need to stop letting your possessions own you. The choice is yours. Do you want a house full of stuff or a life full of options? Start your first Vanishing Audit today and see how much lighter your future can feel.